I was secretly living as the only son of one of the wealthiest billionaires in New York City, playing the role of a humble, pure-hearted boyfriend to the CEO, Ashley. Just as I was about to reveal my true identity, I overheard Ashley's group of close friends speaking in French, right in front of me. "He's about to go home and get married, so what about this little boyfriend of yours? A breakup, then?" Ashley gently swirled the wine in her glass. "No breakup. I like him very much, but his family is too poor to be presentable. The arranged marriage is just to satisfy my family's wishes. He is my true love. I'll continue to keep him hidden and support him on the side." They were chatting so casually, assuming I was just a poor guy who didn't understand French. They never knew I actually understood French. So, while she was swearing eternal love to me, she had already accepted an arranged marriage. Using the excuse of going to the restroom, I went outside and immediately called my family. "Mom, Dad, I've made up my mind. I'm ready to come home and inherit the business." My parents were overjoyed to hear that their son had finally agreed. Thinking of the girlfriend I had kept my identity secret to date, they couldn't help but ask, "Will you bring this girlfriend home with you?" "No, I plan to break up with her." My voice involuntarily deepened. "I'll end things here in a week." I said a few more words, hung up the phone, put it away, and returned to the private room. The noise in the room paused for a moment when I pushed open the door. But I pretended not to notice, went straight to Ashley, and sat down. She paused her conversation, looking toward me as I sat silently beside her. "Nick, what took you so long on the phone?" Before I could speak, another voice interjected. There were no French speakers in the room, yet the person spoke in French. "Ashley, when are you and James White planning to get married?" Hearing this question, my hand tightened around the wine glass. Ashley remained as nonchalant as ever, glancing at me before answering the question in French. "The families have already set the date, it's in 2 weeks." Everyone in the room looked towards me. One of her close friends asked curiously, "If you marry James White, what about Nick? A breakup, then?" Ashley shook her head, took a small sip of wine, and continued, "The wedding is just to appease my family. The person I love is Nick." As soon as she said this, the entire room burst into laughter. Teasing and jokes arose everywhere. "Ashley, why are you playing the love game? There's such a huge difference in status, and you're being genuine with him?" She turned to look at me, her eyes full of tenderness and deep love, so much that it couldn't disappear. Without saying a word, she answered the question perfectly. Someone, noticing her infatuated appearance, exclaimed in surprise, "It seems like she's truly in love. But does he really not understand French?" The person was just asking casually, but to their surprise, everyone else laughed when they heard this sentence. "Nick is poor, where would he get the money to learn a foreign language? Rest assured, he definitely doesn't understand." Mocking laughter rang in my ears, but no one realized I was breathing rapidly. The hand holding the wine glass had turned pale white at the joints. They never knew I actually understood French. Because I wasn't just a poor kid without money, but the son of one of the wealthiest billionaires in New York. Over the past year, Ashley had treated me very well, but she had never once introduced me to her family. Initially, I thought she was just worried about the disparity in our status. After all, the Ashleys were a prestigious family in the Hamptons. Therefore, I had planned to reveal my true identity soon. I am the son of a billionaire. It was only because I didn't want to live under my parents' protection forever that I decided to keep my identity a secret and try to be independent. 3 days ago, I saw a red invitation card in her office. The groom was the young master of the White family, and the bride was Ashley. So, while she was swearing eternal love to me, she had already accepted an arranged marriage. So, on one hand, she was teasing me, calling me honey, and on the other hand, she was busy preparing to marry a man who was a suitable match, approved by her family. In that moment, I suddenly felt there was no need to say anything anymore. From now on, she would go get married, and I would go inherit the business. We would both have our own bright futures. After a few rounds of drinks, everyone was chatting happily. Just as it was getting late, everyone was getting ready to leave. I was the last to leave, and just a few steps out of the room, I heard a strange voice from behind. "Mr. Cox." I was startled and turned around, only to find that the person calling me was a partner who had once begged my father for cooperation. I couldn't help but sigh inwardly. I didn't want to reveal my identity. Just as I was thinking of how to get past this, a girl following behind Ashley looked me up and down. These arrogant people, what young master? The clothes on Nick total no more than $300. How could he be a young master? What a joke of the world. This sentence immediately triggered a burst of laughter. They weren't speaking French. I clearly heard every mocking word, but didn't show anything on my face. In contrast, Ashley looked uncomfortable, coldly glaring to warn that person. The person seemed to realize that it wasn't good, so was more cautious and didn't dare to laugh too much. The other people also received the warning eyes, so gradually fell silent. That person did not follow anymore either. I walked behind Ashley all the way home. Neither of us said a word to each other. When we got home, after she had changed her shoes, she suddenly spoke up, "You can't come to these gatherings in the future." My expression remained calm. Even though I was being tactfully pushed out of her group of friends, I didn't show the slightest emotion, just asked, "Is it because I embarrass you?" She choked for a moment, intending to pat my head, but I avoided it, so she sighed in explanation, "What are you thinking? I just don't want you to get hurt, but we have a status gap and we will always face such situations. Has your family never urged you to get married?" I looked at her, trying to find a trace of embarrassment in her eyes. But even hearing the words "get married," Ashley just paused slightly, before quickly returning to her composed appearance. "Nick, you just need to know that the person I love is you, that's enough, and I will find a way to solve other problems." If I didn't observe closely, I really couldn't tell that anything was off with her. Having said that, Ashley went into the bathroom. Watching her disappear, I didn't say anything, but in my heart I couldn't help but wonder that her solution was to listen to her family and marry one person and support another. Not far off, a message notification came from the direction of the bedside table. It was Ashley's phone. Her password had never been hidden from me. I could easily unlock the phone, open the message, and see that it was from James White. "Ashley, we have to meet with our families tomorrow. If you don't stay at my place tonight, our parents might find out about our pretending to be engaged. I know you love your boyfriend, but at least for these few days, give me a little face, okay?" Although the words were humble, I could still see his intentions. Initially, he would use the excuse of the parents of both sides to beg her to stay together, but what about later? He would just continue to use this excuse to escalate and become increasingly excessive. However, this had nothing to do with me anymore. I had already decided to leave. Thinking this, I set the message back to unread and put the phone back in its place. A moment later, Ashley came out of the shower and picked up her phone. The next second, she looked at me with an apologetic expression. "Nick, something urgent came up at the company. I need to go over tonight. I won't be home, rest well." She left in a hurry, not paying attention to my reaction, and not realizing that I had always seen her to the door, complaining and hoping that she could spend more time with me. But this time I didn't hold her back at all, watching her fade away. Ding dong, Ashley had just left when I also received a message. "Just a word from me and Ashley will come to me. What will you be when we really get married? A lover who can't be brought into the light." James White's words were difficult to hear, but what hurt me more was that the knife used to hurt me was given to someone else by the girlfriend I once thought I could be with for life. Ashley probably didn't know that even if I didn't find that wedding invitation, the fact that she was getting married to someone else couldn't be hidden from me for long. Because immediately after I discovered the wedding invitation, James White had added me as a friend. Over the past few days, he had continuously sent me many provocative images. Pictures of Ashley and James White trying on wedding dresses, pictures of them choosing diamond rings together, pictures of them looking at wedding venues together. Every single picture completely destroyed all the feelings I had for Ashley. That night, Ashley didn't come home, and I didn't care at all. The next morning, I woke up and went straight to the company to submit my resignation letter, completing the resignation procedures in the same day. During lunch break, I ate lunch with my colleagues downstairs. After hearing that I had completed the resignation procedures, a close colleague couldn't help but jokingly ask, "Recently, I have been watching videos about colleagues suddenly resigning in order to go back and inherit the family fortune. Nick, you resigned so neatly, are you not also going back to inherit the family fortune?" My colleague was just joking, but I nodded slightly. Yes, going back to inherit the family fortune. Everyone was stunned for a moment, then laughed as a group, just treating it as a joke and not paying attention. I smiled and didn't explain further. After eating, I packed up all my belongings, put them in a box, and carried them home. When I got home, Ashley happened to be there. Seeing me carrying a box of stuff home, she was slightly surprised. "You resigned?" I nodded, carrying the box toward the room, but her eyebrows furrowed, calling me back. "Don't you like this job very much? Why did you suddenly resign?" I stopped, turned around, and smiled. "Because I have another job that I want to do more in the future." Hearing me say this, Ashley didn't ask further, just said, "If work is too tiring, then go home and rest. I am very heartbroken every day seeing you work yourself to exhaustion. Nick, you have to know that I can support you." I shook my head, word by word saying, "I am not anyone's property." Ashley corrected herself. "How could you be property?" "I hate hearing that." Not wanting to hear more, I interrupted her. "Why are you home so early today? Aren't you going to the company? You've been so busy recently and haven't had time to be with me. Today I thought about making time to be with you." Having said that, her eyebrows relaxed and she became the girlfriend who doted on me 100%. "Where do you want to go? Brunch? A movie? Today, whatever you want to do, I will go with you." If it were the old me, hearing these words, I probably would have been endlessly touched. After all, I also knew that she was the heir to the Ashley Corporation and had to handle a lot of work every day. Therefore, the fact that she was willing to take the time to accompany me to do what I wanted, at least proved that I occupied a large position in her heart. But now, looking at her, I couldn't help but wonder whether it was really work that was too busy, or whether it was preparing for the wedding that was too busy. How was she able to both prepare for a wedding with another man, while also coaxing me and saying that the person she loved was only me? But in the end, I didn't expose her lies. After all, there were only a few days left, and then I would naturally disappear from her life without a trace. I shook my head, rejecting her offer. Finally, after thinking for a moment, I said, "Can you help me do some deep cleaning? There are a lot of old things in the villa, and there's no point in keeping them forever." Ashley agreed and helped me clean for a long time, but in the end, she discovered that all the things that I had sorted out were things that we had bought together. From water glasses to jewelry, from clothes to slippers, all of them were thrown into the trash by me without hesitation. The smile on her face faded as the number of couples' items I threw away increased. Until the last item was also thrown into the trash, the confusion in her heart could no longer be hidden. "Nick, you know something, don't you?" "What could I know? Do you have something to hide from me?" I raised my eyebrows, looking at Ashley, avoiding the question, and asking back. She immediately avoided my eyes, not daring to look directly at me. After a moment of silence, she finally did not answer straightforwardly, but grabbed my hand. "Nick, no matter what happens, you just need to remember that the person I love is you." I chuckled softly, not saying anything more. After cleaning up, Ashley still insisted on taking me out on a date. Afraid that she would realize something, I didn't refuse again. She took me to dinner, a movie, and finally, the car stopped at an auction. Just as I was preparing to enter, I saw a man in a refined suit walking toward us. He revealed a slight unnatural expression. I immediately realized, oh, is she running into someone she knows? Just as I said this, the man was already standing in front of us, smiling and greeting Ashley. Ashley introduced, "This is James White, a friend of my family." After she finished speaking, she paused slightly and then introduced me, "This is my boyfriend, Nick Cox. Hearing this completely different way of introducing me, the smile on James White's face immediately froze. But after a moment, he still forced a smile and extended his hand toward me. I have heard that Ashley's boyfriend is very handsome. Meeting you today, you are indeed as renowned as they say. While they were talking, the group of close friends who had mocked me the other day were also walking over. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw them winking at Ashley. At this time, I realized that this chance encounter was not accidental at all, but that they had deliberately brought James White here. The anger in my heart rose up, but in this situation, if I suddenly got angry, it would be even more difficult to explain. Helpless, I could only suppress everything. At the auction, James White's seat was right next to Ashley. Unlike the provocation in the messages, in person he appeared generous and knowledgeable. Knowing that Ashley liked ceramics, he spoke lively about this topic. Ashley initially seemed to be avoiding him, but gradually she sat closer to him. It wasn't until I coughed that she remembered that she had left me to the side. She hurriedly said softly, "Are you bored, Nick? I know you're not interested in these things. If you like something, just bid on it directly." Before I could say anything, the whispers of her group of friends rang out from behind. Although they deliberately lowered their voices, because they were only one row away, I could still hear every word clearly. Ashley really knows how to save face for him. Even if he is interested, so what? Does he understand anything? He probably doesn't even know how to raise a bid paddle, and he probably won't be able to afford anything anyway. That's right, he has definitely never been to this kind of high-class auction. They said as they glanced at me with disdain. Although it was called a whisper, I felt that they were deliberately saying it for me to hear. I didn't care, after all, when we meet again in the future, they will have to stand in front of me respectfully and call me Mr. Cox. Just as the first item had been sold, the next item was brought up. It was a jade sculpture of pine and cranes, symbolizing longevity. According to the host's introduction, this was a work by jade sculpting master, Edwin Swanson. Hearing this introduction, James White immediately excitedly raised the auction paddle. "Ashley, this is extremely valuable for collecting. In 2 days it's your grandma's birthday. It would be perfect to buy this as a birthday gift for her." When I heard the name Edwin Swanson, I instinctively raised my head to look at the antique on the podium, only glanced at it, then retracted my gaze. My tone was calm, but like a bucket of cold water being poured on James White, I said, "This is a fake." James White looked at me with disbelief, wanting to ask what a country bumpkin like me understood, but seeing Ashley sitting next to him, he had to suppress his anger and forced a smile. "Mr. Cox, what do you see that is wrong with it?" Because the real piece had already been given to his grandmother by Mr. Cox, the son of a billionaire. There is only one real statue in the world and it is in his house, so the statue above is definitely a fake. I'm just offering a friendly reminder. As soon as I finished speaking, James White suddenly burst into laughter. Even Ashley's group of friends behind us started to laugh mockingly, unable to restrain themselves. If you don't understand, don't pretend to be knowledgeable, it's embarrassing. Exactly. What billionaire gives those away? Unless you were under the bed and saw it with your own eyes. Doesn't he think that by having the last name Cox, he can become close to Mr. Cox? The mocking laughter grew louder. Finally, Ashley coldly stopped the jeering. She looked at me, took my hand. "Nick, I know you've been reading some books about antique appraisal recently, but your appraisal skills can't improve from books alone. James has been going to auctions and studying carving since he was young, he understands it a little better than you." There wasn't anything too harsh that was said, but she clearly thought I was talking nonsense. I chuckled softly, saying nothing. In the end, James White spent $1 million to win the jade sculpture. Watching him swipe his credit card, I smiled, wondering what Ashley's grandmother would think when she found out he bought a fake jade statue for $1 million as a gift. I didn't stop him or care, standing up and going to the restroom. Just after I finished washing my hands, a familiar voice rang out from behind. "Nick Cox, I thought I made myself clear enough, so why are you still shamelessly hanging around here? Are you that desperate to be the third wheel?" His voice was shrill and grating, completely different from his earlier, dignified manner. I slowly raised my face, turning to look at him. "Mr. White, I hope you understand that you've been with her for 5 years, so the term third wheel can't be applied to me." After saying that, I prepared to walk past him and leave, but he still didn't let me go, laughing coldly and continuing to mock me. "Right, been together for 5 years, and she didn't marry you. Haven't you wondered why? I'm the heir of the White family, she's the heir of Ashley Corporation. We are a perfect match, while you. A father who gambles, a mother who is sick, such a wretched family situation. What do you have? What makes you worthy of her?" I froze. This family background was something I had made up, but I didn't expect Ashley to have told James White about it. I couldn't help but mock myself. If I really had such a family background, would the woman who said that she loved me, and only me, hand another knife to a man to hurt me? It seemed I truly wasn't worthy of her. My heart throbbed in pain. Turning to look at James White, the suppressed anger in my heart suddenly vanished. "You two are a match made in heaven. I wish you a lifetime of happiness together." After saying that, I walked away. I hadn't gone far when my phone rang. It was a call from my mother. "Nick, come home quickly. The whole family is waiting for you. We've prepared a mountain of gifts for you. Your parents bought you an old castle while they were abroad. Your aunt bought you a diamond-encrusted watch. I heard the King of England used to wear it. Your uncle even prepared a garage full of luxury cars for you." Listening to my parents rambling about the gifts that the family had prepared for my return, I was filled with helplessness. "Mom, I'm coming back to inherit the family business, not to bankrupt the family." As soon as I finished speaking, a familiar voice rang out from behind. "Inherit the family business? What business?" Startled, I instinctively hung up the phone, inwardly lamenting why these people all liked to suddenly speak from behind someone. Turning around, I immediately saw Ashley's less than pleasant expression. After a moment, I spoke up to explain. "It's nothing. It's just that a former colleague asked what I was planning to do after resigning, so I joked that I was going home to inherit the family business." Ashley frowned. "That doesn't sound like you. You're usually not one to joke like that." She instinctively felt that something was off. Just as she was about to speak, I took a few steps, turned my head, and called out to her. "Aren't you coming? There are still a few pieces of jewelry that haven't been displayed yet." Hearing this, Ashley thought I wanted to buy some jewelry and nodded, following me back to the auction house. Ashley successfully bid for all the remaining pieces of jewelry at high prices, had them packaged, and handed them to me. Looking at the jewelry boxes in my hand, I said softly, "I don't need these things." Ashley hugged me and smiled. "Get used to it in the future. Don't be afraid of wasting money, I'll buy them for you for the rest of your life." I bit my lip slightly, but in the end, I didn't say the remaining words. These million-dollar valuables are worthless. Every item in my jewelry collection is worth tens of millions. The auction had ended, and everyone on the stage left one after another. Ashley and I didn't stay long either. Everyone had driven themselves here, so we should have just gone home. But just after I sat in the car and the engine hadn't even started, James White knocked on the passenger seat window. Once the window was rolled down, you could no longer see the sardonic and acerbic demeanor he had shown in the restroom. "Ashley, my car broke down. Can you give me a ride home?" Ashley frowned, preparing to refuse, but he continued, "Your aunt and uncle told you to take care of me, you haven't forgotten, have you?" Ashley's expression changed slightly, but she still agreed. Seeing her nod, the smile on his face became more obvious. Next, he took it a step further, looking towards me. "But I get carsick, so I can't sit in the back. What should we do?" Ashley looked at me. Before the words could come out, I pushed open the car door and directly switched to the back seat. With such swift movements, Ashley didn't even have time to react before I was sitting quietly in the back seat. Her words were stuck in her throat, making people very uncomfortable. She wanted to say something, but when I looked into the rearview mirror, I had already closed my eyes, feigning a desire to rest. At that moment, James White also got into the car. When the car door closed and he saw me closing my eyes to rest in the back seat, the corner of his mouth slightly rose in smugness. Nick Cox, so what if she still likes you now? What I want will eventually fall into my hands. Winning her heart is only a matter of time. Thinking this, James White's mood suddenly became better. He looked at Ashley with loving eyes. Ms. Ashley, you tired? Then let him rest for a while. Perhaps realizing my abnormality, Ashley didn't chat much with James White, just nodded and started the car in silence. I don't know when I really fell asleep. When I woke up, the car was already parked in the garage of the Ashley's villa. James White was also no longer in the car. Ashley stroked my face. You're awake? I saw that you were sleeping too soundly, so I couldn't bear to wake you up. I still muddled, nodded, and opened the car door to get out, not waiting for Ashley, heading straight towards the front door. When Ashley got out of the car, I had already reached the door. She ran a few steps, catching up and blocking me at the door. Are you angry? James White is just a friend of the family, don't mind him. I asked, do you think I embarrassed you? Ashley froze, preparing to stroke my head, but I dodged it, leaving her to explain in disappointment. What are you thinking? He really is just a friend of the family. Honey, I only love you, you know that. After saying that, she moved forward to kiss me, but I pushed her away. Seeing her shocked expression, I walked straight through the door. I'm not feeling well, I'm going to my room to rest first. After saying that, I directly locked the door, completely cutting off the possibility of Ashley entering the room. Early the next morning, Ashley and I were eating breakfast in the dining room on the first floor when the phone next to me suddenly rang. It was the alarm I had set beforehand, with the event note, day to meet Ashley's parents. Ashley also saw those words. I had previously intended to reveal my true identity, so I mentioned taking her home to meet my parents, and she had agreed. We looked at each other, and I was thinking of how to cancel this meeting when her phone rang. It was a call from James White. I don't know what the other person said, but her expression changed. When she walked towards me, she apologized and canceled the meeting. Nick, something suddenly came up. I'll see your parents next time, okay? I thought I would explode and scream, but in the end, I just calmly nodded. It's just as well, I have something to do today too. Not long after Ashley left, I also left the house, going to the mall to buy gifts for the friends I was about to meet. When I arrived at the meeting place, everyone opened their gifts. Seeing that each box contained a brand new designer item, they were immediately shocked and exclaimed, Nick, where did you buy these things? They look so cool. Seeing their excited appearances, I couldn't help but explain, but they all looked disbelieving, so I decided to reveal my true identity. Actually, what I said before about my father gambling and my mother being seriously ill were all lies. My real identity is the only son of a billionaire. This time, I'm saying goodbye to you all because I'm about to go back to inherit the family fortune. Hearing me say this, everyone was first stunned, then shocked, and finally overjoyed. Oh my God, a young master was right next to me. The cheers almost brought down the ceiling of the restaurant. After calming down, someone remembered Ashley and quickly asked, but if you go back, what about Ashley? Does she know your real identity? Mentioning Ashley, the smile on my face faded. She's about to marry someone else, so what's the point? Hearing this, my friends were full of suspicion. In our eyes, she is a rare gem in the upper class, right? 3 years ago, you said you liked epiphyllum flower, and she spent a lot of money to buy up all the epiphyllum flower in the world just to make you smile. 2 years ago, you caught the flu, and she canceled a $100 million contract to fly back from abroad, personally taking care of you, staying up all night, not daring to doze off. And a year ago, when your car had an accident, and a truck lost control, she strongly steered the car, and you were unscathed, while she broke 3 ribs and was hospitalized for 3 months, almost not waking up. Now, she's getting married. How could the groom not be you? Listening to my friends recounting the past, I still couldn't help but feel 1,000 emotions. At that time, Ashley really loved me, loving me to the point of risking her life. But now, I shook my head, smiling softly. She does love me, but her family thinks that my identity is not worthy of her. Before I had time to reveal my true identity, she agreed to marry someone else. According to her, after getting married, maybe she wants me to be her lover. Hearing these words, my brothers were immediately furious. What? To have a billionaire's only son be her lover? The Ashleys are really crazy. Okay, if she knows that you quietly left her house, that she knows your real identity, she will definitely regret it to death. Just at that moment, Ashley and James White walked in from the door, hearing their words, frowning. What real identity? Seeing them walking in together, a friend was about to say something, but was stopped by me. I looked at the two people who had just entered, my attitude indifferent. What are you doing here? Hearing my question, Ashley couldn't help but feel a little embarrassed, avoiding my eyes. The two of our families just happened to have a collaboration, so we made an appointment to discuss it. Hearing her answer, I laughed. I of course knew about your collaboration. A marriage collaboration, right? Because they needed to talk about the collaboration, Ashley and James White didn't sit with us, but chose a separate table next to us. The position was just enough for me to clearly see the intimacy between them. He helped her cut her steak, she shared her favorite dishes with him, he handed her a tissue, she wiped the corner of his mouth that had food on it. The two of them going back and forth made my friends angry. But I still maintained a calm expression. After the meal, my group also dispersed. Ashley offered to take me and James White home. Perhaps after the experience of competing for the passenger seat last time, this time Ashley learned her lesson, directly taking the family's extended Rolls-Royce with a driver, so naturally, there would be no more story about the passenger seat. The car slowly drove toward the White's mansion, the road was smooth. No one expected that an accident would happen at this time. A truck that lost control crashed into them from another direction. The driver instinctively turned the steering wheel hard, but there was just a muffled sound and two cars still inevitably collided. As the glass shattered, I was thrown away by inertia. I happened to see that Ashley not only didn't let James White get hurt at all, but also comforted his emotions. My consciousness gradually became blurred. I suddenly remembered the car accident that my friends had just mentioned. At that time, it was our 4th year together, and the feelings I had for her were still the most intense. In the same intersection, the same truck rushing over like this, I was on the side that the truck was crashing into. In an instant, I realized that I couldn't avoid it, and could only forcibly turn the steering wheel so that the side I was sitting on faced the impact. The front of the truck caved in, and she was stuck in the driver's seat. Firefighters and doctors coordinated the rescue for a long time before finally getting her out of the car. She almost died that day, but even so, when she was out of danger, the first thing she said when she woke up was to ask about my safety. Now, it was the same car accident, only the person she was instinctively protecting was no longer me. The tail of the Rolls-Royce was crashed to the point that people didn't dare to look straight at it. Until everyone got out of the car, Ashley was still comforting James White, finally seeing that I was silently holding the bloody wound on my temple. Fortunately, my injuries were not serious. After going to the hospital for bandaging, there were no big problems. It was just that because I was injured in the head, the doctor still advised me to stay in the hospital for observation for 2 days. Ashley looked at the bandage on my head, feeling a little apologetic. "Nick, I'm sorry. At that time, I just thought that there would be a collaboration with James White in the near future, and we needed to participate together, so his face couldn't be injured. That's why I protected him. Hit me, scold me, I'll accept it all, just don't ignore me, okay?" Her attitude of apology was extremely sincere, and the reason also seemed plausible. If I didn't remember that their wedding would take place in less than half a month, I would lower my head, not saying anything. Not saying I was angry, not forgiving, or saying that I forgave. From beginning to end, it was still that unruffled appearance. Ashley kept apologizing, repeatedly saying sorry. Suddenly, she seemed to remember something, her eyes flashing with a hint of joy. Your birthday is in a few days. I want to give you a gift early, can I? What birthday gift do you want? I'll buy it for you. Finally, I looked up at her, my eyes still unwavering. Then, buy me a plane ticket to the Hamptons 3 days from now. Why are you going to the Hamptons? She was a little surprised, but quickly gave herself the answer. Do you want to travel? I didn't explain, just nodded. Ashley didn't ask further. Right in front of me, she opened her phone and bought a plane ticket to the Hamptons. After buying it, she said, "This plane ticket is a bit small as a birthday gift. At that time, I will give you a big surprise." I shook my head, smiling slightly. It's not small at all, not small in the slightest. After all, this plane ticket is the road back home for me. Ashley, thank you for the gift, personally sending me home. In the 2 days I was hospitalized, Ashley was as if she had returned to the time when we first fell in love. Her treatment of me could be said to be attentive, but good things don't last long, and her care also ended on the day I was discharged from the hospital. She first said that the company had something to do, so she asked the driver to take me home. Then, I received a provocative message from James White. Sorry, Ashley and I are about to get married. Today, she has to go home with me to have a meal with the family. I'm afraid that she doesn't have time to pick you up from the hospital. I didn't care about this message, and just silently went home, starting to pack my luggage. On the day of my departure, I woke up very early. 7 hours before takeoff, I moved each suitcase out of the door, but just happened to meet Ashley returning. Seeing several suitcases piled up in front of the villa, her expression was flustered, and a hint of unease suddenly rose in her heart. What's going on? Aren't you just going to the Hamptons to have some fun? You're still flying on the ticket I bought for you, you forgot? My expression was calm, as if I was really just preparing to go out on a trip, but my explanation still didn't make her happy. Aren't you just going for a day or two? Why do you need to bring so much luggage? I smiled softly. Just bringing a few more outfits. Wanted to take a lot of pictures. But you never liked taking pictures that much. The uneasiness spread from her heart throughout her body, making her want to open my suitcases immediately to check if what I said was true. Just as she was about to act, an urgent phone call interrupted her. It was a call from James White. After listening to the phone, she was quiet for a moment, and after a period of silence, Ashley still finally left first. Before leaving, she didn't forget to tell me one more time. Nick, don't play for too long. When you book the ticket back, send it to me. I'll pick you up. I didn't answer because I knew I wouldn't be coming back. This meeting was a farewell. 5 hours before takeoff, I changed the front door password from my birthday to James White's birthday. Then, I stuck a sticky note on the door. After all, this is Mr. White's home in the future, so it's more appropriate to set the password to his birthday. 3 hours before takeoff, I found all the photos of Ashley and me in the villa. I threw each and every one into the fire pit. I hugged her, kissed her under the fireworks, saying over and over again that she was mine. She confessed to me under the sunset on the Xinghe River, swearing to love me for life. She shielded me in the car accident, breaking 3 ribs. Her social media was full of pictures of me. We went through spring together, stepped through summer, welcomed autumn, and searched for winter. Now, as those memories gradually burned away, we also completely ended things. 2 hours before takeoff, my phone rang. Opening it, I saw a video sent by James White. The video seemed to be recording a family party with Ashley's friends, James White's brothers, and the parents of both sides. Many people surrounded Ashley and James White, the 2 protagonists of the party, shouting loudly, "Kiss! Kiss!" I said, "Ms. Ashley, you're getting married in a few days, what's there to be shy about?" In the cheers, James White, with a flushed face, closed his eyes and moved closer to her. The urging of everyone grew louder and louder, pushing Ashley to kiss back. Ashley just stared at the person in front of her, and finally closed her eyes. The video kept playing on repeat. By the seventh time, a message from James White came. Nick Cox, have you seen enough? I'm the son-in-law recognized by everyone in the Ashley family. With your poor family, how could the Ashley family ever look at you? With a family background like yours, you're barely good enough for a beggar. So what if Ashley loves you? Her defenses are gradually being broken down by me. First, she met my family with me, then she was living together with me, and just now, she was kissing me. How far do you think we are from sleeping together? I didn't answer his message, just quietly printing out all the provocative messages he had sent over the past few days. Arranging them in a pile, I placed them in the empty living room. 1 hour before takeoff, I left a final sentence on top of that pile of printed paper. Ashley, congratulations on your marriage. We're over. Then, I dragged the suitcase out of the villa area, took a taxi straight to the airport. Ashley, from now on, I'm back to being a billionaire's son, no longer having anything to do with you. At the Hamptons airport, as I dragged my suitcase out of the airport, a Bugatti, that screamed money, was waiting outside. As soon as he saw me come out, the man outside the car immediately opened the car door for me. Young master, please get in the car. The luggage was put in the car. Just as I got into the car and sat down, I casually chatted with the man in the driver's seat. Uncle Lee, why did you come to pick me up? Where's the family driver? Uncle Lee chuckled, the wrinkles at the corners of his eyes making him look more kindly. The car started slowly, merging into the flow of traffic, and Uncle Lee's voice rang out as well. Young master, it's been many years since you came home. Hearing that the young master was returning today, I took the initiative to ask to pick you up. Uncle Lee said. So, Uncle Lee missed me. I smiled, a hint of sarcasm in my eyes. Very quickly, the car stopped in front of the Cox family villa. Getting out of the car, I went straight into the villa. When I pushed open the door, there was already a group of servants standing waiting by the door. Seeing me walk in, they said in unison, in an orderly manner, "Welcome home, young master." I was slightly flustered. Uncle Lee pushed the suitcase to the servant, who immediately received it and carried it upstairs. Seeing my flustered expression, Uncle Lee laughed. The masters value the ceremony very much. Knowing that the young master was coming back, they had them train all night to prepare for the welcome. They're all waiting for the young master in the living room right now. I nodded. Although this scene was too ostentatious, I didn't say anything to spoil the fun, and directly went to the living room. Sure enough, the living room was full of people at this moment. My parents, along with my uncle and aunt, were all present. I went forward to greet each person, and then sat down next to my parents. Looking at their concerned expressions, the composure I had been maintaining suddenly broke down, and a sense of unspeakable grievance rose in my heart. From a young age, I had been doted on by all the adults, never suffering any grievances. Until I decided to hide my identity to train myself, going to the Hamptons and meeting Ashley. Over the past 5 years, I had given her a sincere heart. At that time, I really wanted to live my life with her, and believed that sooner or later, we would become the only one for each other. But it was a pity that in the end, I almost became her secret lover without even knowing it. A sincere heart, in the end, was just thrown to the dogs. My mother noticed my resentment and patted my shoulder. Let bygones be bygones. The thing we are least afraid of is making mistakes. We'll just start over from the beginning. We aren't afraid of forgiving mistakes. Hearing my parents' comforting words, my mood finally eased somewhat. Seeing this, the others also quickly changed the subject, taking out the gifts they had prepared in advance. It was only at this time that I realized that what my mother had said in the phone call before was not exaggerated at all, even quite modest. House deeds were piled up, and on top of that was a bunch of keys. The most striking thing was the diamond-encrusted watch placed in the middle, made of gold and diamonds. Each diamond was huge, exuding an extraordinary and precious aura. But they still seemed to feel that it wasn't enough, trying to fill the table in front of me as if only that would satisfy them. Just as I was about to say that I didn't need anything, I suddenly slapped the table, my eyes lighting up. Nick just broke up, right? I just happen to have a friend whose daughter just came back from abroad. My friend has been worried about her daughter not being able to find a boyfriend for a long time. Why don't the two of you meet? Just consider it getting to know each other. I was stunned, hurriedly waving my hand, saying that I didn't need it, but my aunt didn't listen, directly taking out her phone and pushing a contact to me. That girl you met before she went abroad, she's very pretty. Even if there's no fate, it's not bad to be friends. Faced with this sincerity, I finally agreed to my aunt's suggestion. But what I didn't expect was that when I opened the contact that my aunt had pushed to me, I found that I already had it in my friend list. I clicked on it, but there was no note. The profile picture was a crescent moon on a pure black background. I was surprised, trying to recall, but still couldn't remember when I had added this person as a friend. I also didn't ask, calmly turning off the phone screen. After all the answers would appear when we met. While I was preparing for the matchmaking blind date, Ashley, on the other side, was finally getting home. The sky was gradually darkening, and the villa wasn't lit. She didn't see the sticky note on the door, entering the password, preparing to push open the door, but found that the door still couldn't be opened. Surprised, she raised her head, only now seeing the piece of paper stuck on the door. After all, this is Mr. White's home in the future, so it's more appropriate to set the password to his birthday. Mr. White's home. Ashley's heart suddenly pounded wildly. Could it be that he already knew something? But he and James White had only met once. Others couldn't have told him about this. How did he know that I was about to get married to James White? Ashley hesitated, entering James White's birthday. The door to the villa immediately opened, turning on the lights, and the villa was empty. She instinctively called out, "Nick." The sound echoed in the villa, but no one answered. It was only at this time that she suddenly remembered that I had gone to the Hamptons 2 days ago. It was very rare for me to leave her for so long, most of the time waiting for her to come home. Or rather, since we had been living together, except for this time, every time she came home, I was at home waiting for her to return. Thinking of this, a trace of uneasiness suddenly rose in Ashley's heart, suddenly feeling empty inside. Could it be that he had really done it? But after a moment, she rejected this thought. How could it be? Nick Cox loved me so much. It was probably just because she had spent too little time with him recently that he was overthinking a bit, only to accidentally guess the relationship between her and James White. But in the end, he would still come back to her. At that time, she would just coax him, and everything would be fine. Thinking this, she rubbed her forehead, walking towards the living room. It seemed that she had to call him, asking when he was coming back, so that she could talk to him clearly. But when she got to the living room, before she could even dial the phone, her eyes were drawn to something in the living room. Ashley stopped walking, moving faster towards that. Very quickly, she sat down on the sofa, picking up the pile of papers, not knowing what it was, feeling a bit of anticipation in her heart. Was this Nick's? Maybe he left it for her to see? She knew that he was just throwing a tantrum. How could he really want to leave her? The corner of her mouth bloomed into a faint smile, but very quickly, when she clearly saw the content on the paper, she froze. The first page only had one line of handwriting. Ashley recognized it was my handwriting. If one didn't look closely at the content, one would only see that it was beautiful. But those words that I had written were like a heavy punch, hitting her heart. Ashley, congratulations on your marriage. We're over. She seemed to hear the ringing in her own ears, her mind blank, reading it over and over again, finally confirming that she wasn't seeing it wrong. I had really written, congratulations on your marriage, we're over. He didn't need her anymore. This must be a joke, right? How could he not need her? Her hand unconsciously flipped over the first page, tearing it down, crumpling it into a ball, and throwing it away. And thanks to this movement, the content on the second page appeared. It was a screenshot of a chat log that had been printed out. From the day I added as a friend, I never saved Ashley's name, so I can only see her avatar and the person's nickname is very familiar, Because she also has that friend on her list, James White. The first message was from half a month ago, sent by James White. She flipped through each page, her heart sinking deeper and deeper into the abyss. I heard that you are the young lover that Ashley keeps on the side. Introducing myself, I am James White, her fiancé, advising you to be sensible and leave early. Otherwise, when Ashley and I get married, it will be very ugly for you to be kicked out of the villa. Just a word from me and Ashley will come to me. The day after tomorrow, we will meet with our families. When we truly get married, what will you be? A lover who cannot be brought into the light. So what if she loves you? She has already kissed me, what about now? How far do you think we are from sleeping together? Interspersed between the messages were some photos or videos. Photos of them trying on wedding dresses, photos of them choosing diamond rings together, photos of them looking at wedding venues together. And the video. When opened, it stopped on the most representative frame in the entire video, which was also the frame that James White wanted her to see the most. She and James White were kissing passionately, witnessed by both of their families and a group of friends. The tenth string in Ashley's head snapped, and a fear that could not be put into words rose in her heart. Her face turned pale, but her mouth still kept mumbling two words, unbelievable. She stood up, running towards the bedroom upstairs, her legs slightly trembling. When climbing the stairs, she was not careful and slipped. With a crash, she rolled down the stairs, and the pain helped her regain some reason. She gritted her teeth, holding on to the railing of the staircase, and stood up again, limping upstairs. This time, probably because she was going slower, nothing happened, and she successfully returned to the bedroom. Looking around, she realized that the room only had her things left. All items related to me had disappeared without a trace. Even the photo frame of the two of us that used to be placed on the bedside table, the picture inside had disappeared without a trace, leaving only the empty photo frame still in its original position. Ashley seemed to realize something, her eyes flashing with panic again. She pulled open the wardrobe, pulling open the drawers. After taking out her things, those places were all empty. The bedroom, the bathroom, the office. She searched everywhere in the villa, all the places that could contain things related to us, but couldn't find a single item related to me anymore. Recalling the time before when I suddenly said that I wanted to do a big cleaning, and then threw away all the couple items between us, she now finally understood the reason why I did that. He was so heartless, not leaving a single memory for her. The unease in her heart almost became a reality, but she still dared not believe it. We had been going back and forth for 5 years, he clearly loved her so much. How could he cruelly abandon her like this? She dared not believe what she was seeing, only the thought of having to find me to ask clearly remained in her head. She didn't even know what she had done when she regained consciousness, and had already returned to the living room. The phone was already beeping for a long time as the phone rang. Probably because it was late, I was like being woken up from a dream, but also didn't clearly see who was calling and didn't have time to clearly see who the caller was, so directly answered, my voice still carrying a bit of drowsiness from not fully waking up. Hello? Nick, it's me. She struggled to open her mouth. I'm afraid you'll hang up because you think it's a harassing call. Where are you? I want to see you, and about the photos of us. As soon as she opened her mouth, my consciousness had completely woken up. I looked at the phone, clearly seeing the 2 words Ashley on the screen, helplessly sighing. Miscalculated, forgot to block her contacts. While I was silent, Ashley on the other side kept calling my name several times. In my heart, I couldn't help but feel a burst of annoyance. Ms. Ashley, you're about to get married, so you need to keep your distance and avoid unnecessary misunderstandings. Those photos, if Mr. White sees them when he moves into the villa, he probably won't be happy, so I've already burned them all. As for meeting, I think it's even more unnecessary. You're about to marry someone else, what would it do to meet an ex-boyfriend? Hearing me say that all the photos had been burned, Ashley felt as if her heart was bleeding. What hurt her more was that I resolutely refused to meet. Nick, I haven't agreed to break up. It's not what you think between me and James White, the person I truly love is you. How could you abandon me so casually?" At the end of the sentence, I even heard her voice choking, causing me to also fall silent for a moment. It was very rare for me to see her cry. In the past 5 years, apart from this time, I had only seen her cry once. That was when we had the car accident that year. Clearly, she was the one who was more seriously injured, but when she woke up, seeing the unavoidable injuries on my body, she still cried silently. At that time, her decisive demeanor in the business world couldn't be seen at all. If a partner of the Ashley Corporation happened to pass by and saw that appearance of her, they would probably be shocked. This was the second time. I had never denied Ashley's love for me before. But it was also because I had once seen how much Ashley loved me, that when she later used the reasons family interests, getting along with the family, those, in the end, are not important reasons. To cope with her family pushing her to get married and agreeing to marry James White, I could faintly sense her heart beginning to shift. Perhaps she still loved me very much, but I was no longer the only one she loved. Therefore, after considering it, I would become the first one she abandoned. Whether it was her own decision to secretly keep me on the side as a lover, or later, in the car accident, her instinctively saving James White first, I was no longer her priority. Therefore, at this moment, even hearing her choked voice, hearing her sadness, my heart no longer stirred even slightly. "Ashley, you and I are just breaking up. A breakup doesn't require the consent of both parties. And if we're talking about abandoning someone, weren't you the first one to abandon the feelings between us? Now you say I abandoned you? Having said it to this extent, please understand that we have broken up. I hope you won't disturb my life anymore." Each word I said made Ashley's heart ache even more. She moved her lips, her eyes filled with tears. "Nick," she just called my name, and the phone gave off a long beep, indicating that the call had ended. She was stunned, preparing to call again, but discovered that the phone could no longer make calls. It had been blocked. Ashley tried many other ways to contact me but discovered that after all the messages were sent, there was a red exclamation point. She dazedly collapsed onto the sofa, her gaze falling on that pile of documents again. She stared at the pile of papers, sadness and anger rising. She reached out, strongly sweeping the pile of papers off the table. Each piece of paper floated in the air with rustling sounds, finally falling onto the table, sofa, and floor. It was all because of James White. If he hadn't exposed this in front of Nick Cox, how could he have suddenly left so decisively? The last piece of paper fell in front of her. It just happened to be the final boast that James White had sent to me. "So what if she loves you? She has already kissed me, what about now? How far do you think we are from sleeping together?" Her eyes darkened, staring at that line for a long time. After a long while, she suddenly sneered, her eyes, which were like dead water, suddenly flashing with a sinister glint. "James White, I have told you that the person I like is only Nick. Who gave you the guts to cause trouble for Nick? In that case, since you want to get married, I will give you a big gift." I had no knowledge of Ashley's thoughts. I just coldly put the phone number saved as Ashley into the blacklist, along with all of her means of contact. Then, putting down the phone, I fell asleep. And that night, I slept especially soundly. Because tomorrow was the day I would go to the corporation to take office. With the role of CEO being transferred over, I woke up very early. I was confident that I would stand firm in this position. But at least on my first day on the job, I would not allow myself to become a topic of gossip. PSYCHOPATH Corporation was the family business of the Cox family, with a history of over 100 years, and a very wide scope of business. The news about PSYCHOPATH Corporation transferring over a young and handsome CEO had spread throughout the business world before I even took office. At that time, Ashley was drinking her sorrows away with a group of close friends in the largest club in the Hamptons. It is said that Nick Cox, after finding out that she was about to marry someone else, angrily broke up with Ashley. But no one took this seriously. He was just temporarily unable to accept that he could only be a mistress without a name in the future, so he angrily demanded a breakup. It is said that he just resigned. Don't worry, when the money in his hands is spent, sooner or later, he will come back. If not, who will save his gambling father and sick mother? That's right, I've met many pretty boys who live off their girlfriends like him. In the past, wasn't he trying to cling to her? Now that his dream has been shattered and he can't accept it as normal. At most, after a period of time, you can coax him and things will be fine. That's right, with his status, how could he be your husband? From the beginning, it was just wishful thinking. The life that you allowed him to live by your side, he probably didn't even dare to dream of before. The mockery aimed at me echoed endlessly, causing Ashley, who was silently drinking, to also feel uncomfortable. Her expression was gloomy, suddenly slamming the wine glass in her hand. Crash! The sound of glass shattering, along with the shards of glass flying out, caused the noisy space to quiet down a bit. Suddenly, her cold voice, full of chill, rang out, "Enough." The others blankly looked at her expression. No one reacted, no one understood why she had gotten angry. The words she said sounded like she was defending me, but this wasn't the first time they had said this. Even in front of her, they had said it no small number of times. Ashley and I have never objected to anything, so why is she getting angry now? Finally, Lu Chanchan, the person sitting closest to her, furrowed her brows and spoke up, breaking the dead silence. However, she still didn't take Ashley's anger to heart, only thinking that she was disliking their being too noisy. She smiled slightly, looking at her with a teasing gaze. "What's wrong? Ms. Ashley, are you still not in a good mood? We know you care about him more. Don't worry, how could he really give up a money tree like you? Believe it or not, in less than half a month, he will definitely yield to you. At that time, he will listen to you completely." Just as the words finished, Ashley raised her head, looking at Lu Chanchan, her eyes cold. "Apologize." Lu Chanchan was stunned, not understanding what she meant. Her voice rang out again, "Apologize to him." By this time, Lu Chanchan realized that she was really angry because they were saying bad things about me. "Ms. Ashley, why are you so agitated? And also, we're not saying anything wrong. He's a penniless beggar who's clinging to you for money, isn't he? In the past when we said this, you never objected." Hearing Lu Chanchan's words, Ashley suddenly blanked out, the sinister glint in her eyes disappearing, finally turning into confusion. So, they had said these words so many times in the past? So, in the past, when encountering such situations, she had always chosen to remain silent? She rummaged through her memories, trying to find evidence to refute it, but discovered that Lu Chanchan was right. This wasn't the first time they had said bad things about me. And whether I was present or not, when they spoke in French, she had always tacitly agreed. Only when they spoke directly in front of her would she stop them with a word or two. But how could those words of stoppage be proof? It was just a pretense that she had to put on in front of me because she couldn't refuse. It was her tacit agreement in the past that was her true thoughts in her heart. Thinking of this, she suddenly went blank, not knowing what to say, only able to keep drinking glass after glass of wine. But at the same time, in Ashley's heart, a hint of suspicion couldn't help but arise. That's right, he still had a gambling father and a sick mother. Now that he also no longer had a job, maybe after a while, he really would come back to her, right? At this time, the others also didn't want to ruin her mood anymore, having switched to other topics. "Have you heard any news about the CEO that was recently transferred to Xingqi Corporation? It is said that he is the young master of the Cox family, but there hasn't been any news about him in recent years. I heard that he went to other places to train himself. Now that he's back, Xingqi Corporation was immediately handed over to him. The Cox family, after all, only has one son. Those assets will eventually fall into his hands. Even if it's parachuting from above, he must have been trained well from an early age, being able to directly take office. Being members of the elite are all the same, how could the distance between people be so great?" Ashley wasn't interested in this topic, so she didn't participate, just sitting alone in a corner. More and more empty wine bottles were in front of her. She wasn't listening carefully, so naturally, she didn't hear the words "a few years ago, the young master of the Cox family went outside to train," only recently coming home, that they had said. She also didn't think that maybe the paper I had left behind when leaving, the things I had written, were all true. When everyone dispersed, it was already late at night. Ashley had drunk too much wine, and her steps had become unsteady. Lu Chantian and her group of friends saw that she couldn't even stand firmly and were really not at ease letting her go home alone, and had no choice but to call James White. When he rushed to Ashley's side, only Lu Chantian was left. Seeing him arrive, she quickly handed Ashley over to him. "Ms. Ashley, I'm leaving her to you. You must take her home carefully." After saying that, she even gave him a knowing look. He understood what she meant, took her car keys, and left the room, leaving only Ashley, who was so drunk that she was unconscious, and James White. He didn't take her back to the Ashley family villa but directly took her to his villa. It was only with great difficulty that he got into the room, placing her on the soft bed. He thoughtfully wiped her face, then carefully lay down next to Ashley. "Ashley, we're getting married soon anyway, it's just a little earlier." The woman next to him didn't know if she really heard what he said, but she suddenly grabbed his arm, burying her head in his neck, her warm breath falling on his neck, causing his body to shudder involuntarily. The temperature in the room seemed to be gradually rising along with the ambiguous atmosphere, but the next moment, the name she called out successfully caused his heart, which had almost jumped out of his chest, to immediately return to its original position. "Nick." She didn't make any other movements, just hugging him tightly as if he would disappear again if she let go. James White quietly lay in her embrace, not making any other movements. Only a trace of malice flashed in his eyes. Nick Cox, it would be good if he could disappear from this world. The next day, when Ashley woke up after her drunkenness, she only felt an intense headache. She prepared to raise her hand to rub it, but suddenly realized that there seemed to be an extra person in her arms. She lowered her head, only seeing a head with exquisite curly hair. Before the name of the person could even appear in her head, she blurted out, "Nick." But just as she said it, she realized that something was wrong, and a bad feeling suddenly arose in her heart. She used her strength to push the other person away. James White, who was sleeping soundly, was suddenly pushed off the bed. Falling to the ground with a thud, he was completely awakened. Raising his head, he saw Ashley with a gloomy face. "Why are you here?" Her cold, emotionless voice caused him to immediately feel a surge of resentment in his heart. The corners of his mouth twitched, his eyes filling with tears, tears brimming in his eye sockets, about to fall. It looked truly pitiful. If the person facing him at this time was someone else, they might have been truly softened by his appearance. Or if it was Ashley before breaking up with me, she probably wouldn't have been so cold to him. But unfortunately, the person seeing this appearance of him was Ashley, who had seen how he provoked me, how he had made me break up with her. Seeing that she was still indifferent, even her expression even more gloomy, James White hurriedly suppressed the resentment in his heart, explaining, "You were drunk last night. You didn't allow me to go to your villa, so I could only bring you to my house." Hearing these words, Ashley just realized that she had been too angry just now, not noticing that this room wasn't hers. Her expression improved a little, but the wariness in her eyes towards him was still not reduced. "Then why are you in the same bed with me?" Just as the words finished, she saw his face flushing red. "Initially, I planned to settle you down before going to sleep in the living room, but you pulled on me, not letting go." His shy appearance caused her expression to change abruptly. James White only saw her suddenly stand up, before leaving the room, glancing at him. "James White, put away your little tricks. We are getting married only because you are obedient and easy for my parents to deal with. If there is a next time, I don't mind changing people." James White's face was unsightly. Seeing the back of her leaving, Ashley almost ground a mouthful of teeth. "The Hamptons, Cox residence." I looked at a strange phone number lighting up on the screen, for the first time feeling that Ashley was like a sticky cake that couldn't be removed. How troublesome. Some time ago, after I blocked her, she had been quiet for a while, but recently, I don't know what illness she was having, and I blocked one number, and she would change to another to call me. Yet again, after I hung up the phone and blocked the new number, the ringtone kept ringing before finally stopping. I breathed a gentle sigh, muted the phone, and put it face down on the table. I finally had time to carefully examine the documents in front of me. This project was the first major project that I had taken on since coming to Xingqi Corporation. If I could complete it outstandingly, my position in the senior management of Xingqi would be firm. At that time, I had taken on this project without any hesitation, but after taking over, I discovered that Ashley had suddenly appeared in the bidding list. I was not afraid of directly confronting Ashley, it was just that I didn't understand what her intention was with this action. The foundation of Ashley Corporation was in the Hamptons, why had she suddenly pushed her way into the other area's project? Was it because of me? Thinking of this, I couldn't help but sneer. Ashley didn't think that what she was doing would be very romantic, did she? On one hand, preparing for a wedding with one man, on the other hand, not letting go of another man, two-timing in a justified manner. And dared to say to me that it wasn't what I thought between her and James White. But even if she truly didn't love James White, so what? In the end, James White was still the marriage partner that she had willingly chosen. Even if I wasn't the only son of a billionaire, she shouldn't have arbitrarily changed me from a legitimate boyfriend into a kept man. This bidding was especially fierce. Not only Xingqi and Ashley Corporation but almost all the top families in the Hamptons were participating. Of course, there were also not few who were like Ashley, coming from other cities. Because there were too many people, the organizers directly hosted a party, inviting all the corporations participating in the bidding. When my aunt brought the invitation card, she mysteriously winked at me. I looked at her meaningful gaze. Thinking that I might have missed some important information, I confusedly looked at her. "Aunt, is there anything else?" My aunt, hearing these words, glanced at me. Seeing that I seemed to have truly forgotten everything that had been agreed upon a few days ago, she no longer kept it a secret, stepping forward and strongly patting my shoulder. "Hey, didn't I tell you some time ago about the meeting with my friend's daughter? That girl has been busy these past few days, unable to arrange the time. It just so happens that she will also be at this bidding, so you guys can go together." Hearing that it was about matchmaking, I immediately felt embarrassed. In addition, the meeting place and time made me both laugh and cry. "Aunt, this time we are all going to bid, so wouldn't we become competing opponents?" Aunt is the first person to arrange for competing opponents to date at the bidding site. I followed my words, coordinating, and giving a thumbs up. My aunt, however, didn't care about this at all. "What's wrong with that? On the field, you're opponents, but off the field, that isn't certain. Moreover, if you meet beforehand, being busy remembering the beauty is also good, isn't it? I have already asked around. Although that girl has never dated, she once liked a boy, and I heard that he just happens to be similar to you." Hearing this, I was startled, only now remembering that last time when I discovered I was already friends with that person, because I skipped the step of adding them as a friend, I had also forgotten about it afterward. The time for chatting was long, so naturally I had also forgotten about the dating matter. Now, hearing my aunt remind me, I just remembered that that person, the person she liked, was similar to me. We were already friends. In other words, did they for a long time. Could it be that this girl initially became friends with me because of this? I frowned, and the feeling of goodwill I had towards her diminished a bit. Looking at it now, it seemed like she didn't really not want to find a boyfriend, but was just still unable to forget the person in her heart. In this situation, if I intervened, would I be just putting myself in the position of being a substitute? I didn't mention this matter to my aunt, and my aunt didn't know either. I just laughed it off and accepted the invitation. I no longer had any interest in the meeting that my aunt had mentioned. But I didn't expect that my silence would be understood by my aunt as agreement. On the day of the bidding, she acted decisively, directly having the car wait outside the Cox family villa. "Hello, Mr. Cox." A woman wearing a dress quickly stepped forward when she saw me come out. I only stood in front of her, not moving any further. "I never asked your name," I said softly. She was stunned, lowering her eyes to hide her disappointment, and after a moment of silence, she replied, "My name is Song Nuanyuan." Having gotten the answer, I didn't continue to linger with her. When she gestured for me to get in the car again, I obediently sat in the passenger seat. Until the car door closed, I didn't know if it was anger or for some other reason, but I was silent, not talking to her. Looking at the scenery outside the window, but unconsciously pondering the 3 words Song Nuanyuan. I didn't have any special impression of this name, only feeling that it was slightly familiar. I stealthily turned my head to look at her, seeing that she was only focused on driving, wanting to say something, but not knowing how to open her mouth. In the end, I still said nothing. The car quickly stopped in front of the banquet hall. I and Song Nuanyuan got out of the car. I was planning to go straight in, having already gone a distance, but she was still standing behind. Turning my head, I saw her standing still in place, her expression slightly distracted. "What's wrong?" I asked in surprise. She pursed her lips, raising her head to look directly at me. "Other people are holding hands with the person they're with when entering a banquet." For some reason, there wasn't a hint of disturbance on Song Nuanyuan's face, but I still saw a hint of grievance. I chuckled, somewhat helplessly walking back, hooking my arm around hers, and together going towards the banquet hall. When we were almost at the door, I couldn't help but ask, "Have we met before?" When she heard my question, disappointment flashed in Song Nuanyuan's eyes. "He really doesn't remember me." Just as I thought she wouldn't answer this question, she took a deep breath, breaking the deathly silence. We were classmates in high school, but I was always the one sitting in the corner of the classroom. She was lonely, quiet, always the one most easily forgotten in the class. Even her parents were always busy with work, not having time to care for her. At that time, because Song Nuanyuan was always immersed in her own world, reacting indifferently to the classmates who came to chat with her, even if she wasn't a strange person, no one remembered her. Even I, who was next to her at this time, had liked her for a long time. From the first time I approached her, different from other students who would only greet her casually and then never contact her again, I at that time didn't dismiss her silence. No matter what the matter was, I would seriously ask the opinion of all the students, including her. I became the person who appeared in her life the most, talked to her the most, became the only light in her life. But later, she resented her shyness and silence countless times, causing her to only become friends with me through the single yearbook at graduation, never actively chatting with me even once. Because she always felt that an ordinary person like her wasn't worthy of me. After that, she both studied abroad and received psychological treatment. The first time she gathered all her courage to inquire about news about me, she received news that I was dating someone else. At that time, she thought that as long as I was happy, even if she had to be a passerby in my life forever, she would accept it. She had almost given up, but at this time learned that I had broken up with my girlfriend, so she had returned. Until this moment, hearing Song Nuanyuan's explanation, I finally found the pieces of memories related to her in the corner of my memory. It was just that when thinking about the quiet, taciturn high school classmate from the past, and then looking at the woman who now attended parties and discussed cooperation, naturally responding to everything, I was still a bit unable to believe it. I couldn't help but blurt out, "It's been years since we last saw each other. You've changed a lot, become more beautiful." Hearing my last sentence, she couldn't help but feel her ears slightly redden. It was very noisy in the banquet hall. There were many people who came to participate in the bidding. It hadn't been long since the two of us had entered the banquet hall when another man and woman walked in. I only heard the sound, instinctively turning my head to look towards the entrance, but unexpectedly, my eyes directly met those of the person who came. "Nick," both sides exclaimed in surprise, attracting the attention of the other people in the hall. Everyone looked towards the entrance, while I, the one being forced to endure the attention, only frowned. The Ashley and White families were also top families in the Hamptons. Why was it that when Ashley and James White came to a party, it was so noisy? Lacking all the dignity and etiquette of a prestigious family. Afraid of being implicated, I ignored the two people behind me, turning around, grabbing Song Nuanyuan's hand, quickly going deeper into the banquet hall. Behind me, Ashley was still surprised about my appearance here, and then seeing me holding the hand of the woman next to me and leaving, anger momentarily blinded her, causing her to not care about James White, who was next to her, hurriedly chasing after, loudly questioning, "Nick, who is that person? Why are you with her?" When James White hurriedly caught up, what he heard was Ashley's question full of anger. James White said nothing, his eyes moving back and forth between the two people holding hands. After a long time, his face was full of mockery. What else could it be? He must have clung to someone else after breaking up with you. Otherwise, with his status, how could he be able to enter the bidding banquet? He spoke with great certainty, completely not seeing that Ashley's face had darkened, as well as the strange gazes of the people around them. I am the only son of a billionaire. Would I need to cling to other people to enter a banquet hall? These two idiots, where did they come from? If even a billionaire's son needed to cling to someone else to participate in a bidding, then who was qualified? But because there was something fun to watch, no one reminded them. I in the crowd frowned. Song Nuanyuan next to me coldly put her hand out, grabbing Ashley's wrist. In the next second, Ashley felt an intense pain in her wrist. Perhaps because she didn't expect Song Nuanyuan to suddenly take action, Ashley was caught off guard, almost crying out in pain. Seeing that she still refused to let go of her hand that was pulling me, Song Nuanyuan's emotionless voice rang out, "Let go." Her cold voice caused Ashley to involuntarily shudder. She raised her head, looking at the person in front of her, her expression even more unsightly. Realizing her difficult situation, James White couldn't help but feel pity, immediately pointing his finger at Song Nuanyuan, scolding, "Do you know who we are? Daring to treat us like this? Believe it or not, I will make it so that you cannot survive." Although Ashley said nothing, looking at the sinister glint flashing in her eyes, and adding the fact that from beginning to end she didn't stop James White's unreasonable words, it's possible to guess that her thoughts at this moment are no different from his. I chuckled, first patting Song Nuanyuan's hand, gesturing for her to let go. Although Song Nuanyuan was a bit unwilling, seeing me nod to her, she still obediently let go. Seeing our reaction, Ashley's expression finally improved a bit. Even James White thought we were afraid, so we yielded. He was posing emotionally, preparing to say something, but in the next second, I took off the chest pin without hesitation, stabbing it towards her hand. Ashley was still certain that I wouldn't dare to actually take action. After all, I loved her so much, how could I bear to hurt her? It was definitely just pretending to scare her. "Nick, you know what?" Just as Ashley opened her mouth, the pin had strongly stabbed into the back of her hand. The sudden pain caused Ashley to immediately lose strength in her hand, letting go of the hand that was pulling me. I seized the opportunity to retreat, avoiding James White's upcoming attack, and then slap. A crisp sound, a firm slap landed on his face. On James White's face, a clear handprint immediately appeared. His eyes were full of disbelief, never thinking that I would dare to hit him. Different from his angry, insane appearance, my expression was still calm, as if I hadn't just slapped James White, but just greeted them. I gave Song Nuanyuan a tissue, and then took another from the table, wiping my hand, looking at them with a gaze full of contempt mixed with mockery. "Do you think you are very important people?" The scornful smile at the corners of my mouth made Ashley's eyes red for the first time. But all anger gradually cooled down when she heard my next sentence. "Two people who came to participate in the bidding without knowing who their opponents are. How foolish." The Ashley and White that was the target for the bidding, and the couple who didn't even know who they were bidding against. I remembered the information they had received, carefully looking at the person in front of them, finally linking Song Nuanyuan with the secondary daughter of the Song family. The second wealthiest family in the Hamptons, second only to the Cox family. At this time, Song Nuanyuan, who had been silent from the beginning, except for the words "let go," finally opened her mouth again. "Instead of asking us if we know who you are, why don't you ask the person next to you who we are?" This immediately caused Ashley and James White to stand frozen in place. Then her comment implying I also came to the party for the bidding. The implication being the only possibility was that I was the younger son and heir to the Cox family, a family known to be billionaires. Realizing this, the faces of Ashley and James White suddenly turned pale. Looking around, the crowd was watching the show. At this time, how could the two of them not understand that they themselves were the clowns being watched? Ashley's face turned from green to red, no longer remembering that she had come here to participate in the bidding. Hurriedly leaving the banquet hall in a clumsy and embarrassed manner. Seeing her leave, James White glared at me resentfully, and then hurriedly chased after her. I saw his hateful eyes but didn't care. After all, it wasn't as if James White had just hated me for a day or two. James White's support was nothing more than the White family and the vague marriage with Ashley. Ashley could agree to marry James White while still loving me, so when the benefits that James White brought were very few, she would naturally also abandon him and choose someone else. As for the White family, I didn't even need to take action. As long as they knew who James White had offended was me, the first people to abandon him would be the White family. But at this moment, the most important thing to me was the bidding. Just as this drama was ending, the organizers also appeared. They glanced at the two people who had gotten into the car and ran away, saying nothing, only silently putting an X next to their names. The bidding process was intense and exciting, but in the end, I still won the project. When we were going home, Song Nuanyuan was still driving me. This time, the person who broke the silence first was her. "Do you still like her?" The question was too sudden. I blanked out for a moment before understanding who she was talking about, immediately revealing a helpless expression. "Where did you conclude that from?" "I thought you agreed to the matchmaking because you knew she would come, so you took me along to make her jealous. After all, when we first met, your attitude wasn't very friendly." Although I hadn't been friendly to Ashley later either, she still couldn't help but think that if he didn't remember her when they first met and was slightly repulsed by her, why would he agree to the matchmaking? What was that scene back there? I only suggested that what I was looking for to try. However, I have a no habit of still having others in my heart while pursuing a relationship. My requirement for a partner is loyalty. Therefore, I also demand that of myself. Perhaps because the things that happened at the party had closed the distance between the two people, at this time I was especially patient with her question. The two of us chatted a bit, the car quickly stopping in front of the Cox family villa. I waved goodbye, turning around to go into the villa. When I was almost at the door, my steps suddenly stopped, turning my head, seeing her car still parked in place. With no sign of starting up, I turned back to her side. The car window rolled down. She blinked, her eyes carrying a hint of confusion and surprise as she looked at me. "Mr. Cox, do you still have something to do? Since we're both classmates, no need to be so polite. You can just call me Nick in the future." Hearing the politeness in her way of addressing me, I smiled. But I agreed to the matchmaking only because of my aunt. I wasn't really planning to start a new relationship. Therefore, let's temporarily just maintain a friendship relationship, okay? After saying that, I waved to her again, really like a normal friend saying goodbye. "Be careful on the way back." Looking at my gradually disappearing figure behind the villa gate, a faint smile bloomed on her face. Song Nuanyuan had waited for so many years, naturally not minding waiting for some more time. As he had said, let's just be friends for now. Besides, going from strangers to friends, she was already very satisfied. That night, different from the two people in the Hamptons who were tossing and turning all night, I and Song Nuanyuan both slept very soundly. Until early the next morning, I was woken up by the continuous ringing of my phone. Blurrily opening my eyes, I discovered that my social media account had been attacked to the point of collapse. The non-stop ringing, with just a glance, I saw nothing but malicious abuse. At that moment, a phone number from the Hamptons called. I took the call to learn that it was a friend from my years in the Hamptons. "Nick, have you seen the comments online? Those netizens are really fair-weather friends, believing whatever they hear. They even dare to spread the rumor that you're a young master of a billionaire who's being the third wheel of someone else's relationship. Hurry up and clarify so that those who slander you receive the punishment they deserve." That friend didn't even have time to breathe, continuously spitting out words like bullets, her rapid breathing clearly showing her anger. Hearing her explanation, I finally know everything. It turns out that yesterday, after James White returned to the Hamptons, he still couldn't swallow the humiliation at the party. Relying on the fact that he and Ashley were engaged, he turned things upside down, saying that I had interfered with his and Ashley's feelings, and even released evidence of Ashley and I living together after they were engaged. Initially, the netizens didn't believe that someone known to be the only son of a billionaire would go interfere with another person's family. But James White provided evidence, and even Ashley's sisters all testified that I was interfering. Once it got to that point, the netizens eating melons at midnight believed it was true and found my social media account to begin frantically attacking me. Your family is so rich, has no one taught you that people must have morals, that you can't interfere with another person's family? What young master of a billionaire, making these kinds of things is truly a decline in morals, without shame. Boycott him. Boycott him. Amidst the scolding, there was no shortage of people taking advantage of the situation to find my account, then directly using vulgar words, spitting out base language. It was really unbearable. Bearable. Of course, there were also some rational netizens who said that they should wait for my response, that they couldn't just listen to one side. But under those comments, there were mostly insults. I'll handle it. Did you forget that I'm a billionaire's son? The legal department isn't just there to eat. If he dares to spread rumors, he should have prepared himself mentally to accept the final result. Hearing my confident tone, my friend finally breathed a sigh of relief, comforted me a few more times, and then hung up the phone. After hanging up, I went online to see how far the matter had spread. When seeing those malicious insults, to say that there wasn't even a hint of anger in my heart would be a lie. I was a little confused. They used to despise me because they thought that I was in a poor situation, unworthy of Ashley. Now that even the netizens knew my identity as the son of a billionaire, where did they get the guts to collude with James White to slander me? I coldly screen-capped each comment online and saved them. Just then, the phone rang again urgently. It was a strange number. I hesitated for a moment before answering the call. Nick, are you okay? Don't care about those words online. I know you wouldn't do those things, and don't get angry because of it. I believe that your aunt and uncle are handling this matter already. If you need me to help with anything, just say so. Hearing the gentleness and urgency in Song Nuanyuan's voice, I felt the anger that had been suppressed in my heart swept away, and smiled softly. It's okay, I'm not that weak. It's just a rumor, I can handle it well myself. Seeing that I was in a better mood, Song Nuanyuan also relaxed the tight knot in her heart, not wanting to hang up the phone, but not knowing what she could say at this moment. The two sides fell into a prolonged silence. In the drawn-out silence, it seemed as if both of them could hear each other's soft breathing through the phone screen. Finally, I took the initiative to break this deadlock. Song Nuanyuan, thank you. Although I won't be influenced by those unfounded rumors, I am thankful for your concern, I added the last sentence in my heart, and then hurriedly hung up. On the other side, Song Nuanyuan held the phone that had disconnected, only feeling that time passed too quickly. If it could stop forever at that moment, how great would it be? The moment when the two of them were on opposite ends of the line, in a world without words, silently listening to each other's breathing. For her, that was enough. Initially, when my parents heard the news that I was being cursed online, they were so angry that they cursed directly, almost personally going to find Ashley, James White, and their group of unruly friends to cause trouble. A despicable man and a terrible woman. They're really unaware of their own strength. Daring to throw mud at my son. They're really newborn calves, not afraid of tigers. My mother said. Hearing my mother's words, my father even rolled his eyes. What newborn calves? In my opinion, they are just a pair of animals. It was with great difficulty that I finally soothed my parents' tempers. Seeing their appearance, I couldn't help but both laugh and cry. Alright, Mom and Dad, rest assured, I won't let them bully me. If they dare to spread rumors, they must prepare to pay the price. At the White family residence in the Hamptons, Ashley, with a gloomy face, looked at James White, who was crying miserably, her eyes only filled with disgust. "Didn't I tell you to put away your little tricks? Initially, seeing that you still had some use, I planned to keep you, not expecting that you would be so bold, directly contacting Lu Chanshan and the others." "Slandering Nick? It seems like I have given you too much face." She grabbed his chin, forcing him to raise his head. He kept shaking his head but couldn't exchange it for her pity. "Ashley, that bastard is clearly a billionaire's son, yet he lied to you for 5 years, saying that his family was poor. Now that we've offended him, do you think that he still has feelings for you? Instead of waiting for him to take revenge later, why don't we join forces to crush the Cox family completely?" Hearing his words, the pressure from Ashley's hand finally lessened a little. "That's right, he's clearly a billionaire's son, yet he hid it from me for 5 years. If I had known earlier that he was a billionaire's son, why would I have needed to marry someone else? I wouldn't have criticized the fake identity that he made up, and would still have been willing to keep him by my side. But what about him? He took this opportunity to resolutely leave me, causing me to suffer such a great loss. Why must I still maintain a noble image for him? Why not let him fall together with me? Then, when he is at his wit's end and forced to return to my side, wouldn't it be even better? After all, when he left, the things related to the two of us had either been thrown away or burned. As long as we keep insisting like this, wouldn't he have to bear the reputation of being a third wheel?" Ashley let go of the hand that was grabbing James White's chin, and when looking at him, finally revealed a hint of satisfaction. "Then you must try even harder, dragging him down from the position of billionaire." After saying that, she didn't stay any longer, turning and leaving James White's villa. The roar of the car engine grew farther away, and the resentment in James White's eyes grew deeper. His actions weren't just a momentary impulse. Since returning from the other side and knowing that he had ruined the bidding and offended the billionaire's son, the James family had resolutely abandoned him. He originally wanted to rely on the marriage with Ashley to gain a foothold in the White family, but just as he mentioned it, his parents had slapped him across the face. "You dare to mention marriage with Ashley again? She came to find us to cancel the engagement as soon as she got home. Can't even keep a woman, tell me what use you have." It was only at this time that James White realized that he had been abandoned by everyone. "But why?" "Nick Cox, because of you, I was abandoned by the White family, and despised by Ashley, so what makes you capable to still stand high above me and look down on me?" He poured all his resentment onto me, dragging Lu Chanshan and Ashley, gambling everything in a desperate attempt to struggle for the last time. They were all naively thinking that as long as they erased the past between me and Ashley, even if I brought out evidence of the 5 years of love, they could still create even older evidence to distract from it until I directly announced 2 surveillance videos. One of those videos was a conversation in French of them in front of me a month before I found out. Even though the voices of everyone in the surveillance video were slightly distorted, the meaning in their words was still conveyed very clearly. Ashley had secretly gotten engaged to someone else without my knowledge, while attempting to retain me by acting like she was in love. The other surveillance video was the confrontation between James White and me outside the restroom. In the video, it could be clearly heard that I had said that I had been going back and forth with Ashley for 5 years. If one really had to say who was the one to insert, then that person had to be James White. At that time, other than impotent anger, he had not been able to refute me. If the person inserting really was me, then with James White's personality, he would have already refuted it then. Adding that the words and tone of boast before the legitimate boyfriend was after all aspects he had had, it didn't seem to be those of the one that had done the insuring, so it seemed that it was James who had become obsessed so long ago, and it made him more like the person that was an unwanted third party. Reality the guy that was obsessed with what he cannot have. Public opinion immediately reversed. Those netizens who had cursed me before now repaid Ashley and James White with curses even more horrific. While those netizens who claimed to be knights of justice were frantically cursing under Ashley's and James White's microblogs, I directly sent the lawsuits to all the netizens who had ever commented on mine to express curse in comments for the fact they slandered me, as well as those who made money off of bad news and threw mud at me, and to the court to let them get the justice. including James White, Ashley, and their group of friends, all were brought to the court. I no longer followed up on the things that followed myself, but gave all the authority to Xingqi's legal department to handle. When logging into my social media account again, the comments section was finally much cleaner. Occasionally, there would be a few jumping around, but they were quickly banned from speaking. When the ban period ended, just as they were about to continue babbling, they discovered that in their personal page, there was an additional court summons. This finally made them completely honest. And for those comments comforting me, I especially posted a microblog. The net of heaven has large meshes, but it lets nothing through. Only those who truly have something to hide are afraid of rumors. As for me, I am only using the law to protect my deserving rights. James White had been completely abandoned. I didn't care too much about the things that followed. It was just that when hearing that on the day James White was brought to court, he couldn't even find a lawyer willing to defend him, I also felt slightly regretful. Actually, if James White hadn't sought his own death by coming in front of me, he could have completely maintained a peaceful surface with Ashley, being a most normal arranged marriage couple in the upper class. But alas, he didn't know enough. When I was still by Ashley's side, he wanted to chase me away. When I left, he poured all his resentment onto me, wanting to trample me under his feet. In the end, he fell into such an ending. Including Ashley, those sisters led by Lu Chantian were always like that, bowing down before the strong, bullying the weak, thinking that birth determined everything. After discovering that they no longer had a chance to reconcile with me, they had followed the path of joining forces with James White, in the end all being brought to court together. Was it worth it? In contrast, the central figure of this drama, Ashley, because she had never posted any related comments, only choosing to be silent, on the contrary, had separated herself from the matter. So now that everything has ended, that you now know all the details of my relationship, I'm ready to move on. It's been a while that the legal team had to inform me that the case has reached resolution and that everything had been settled. The group has gone and repented for what they did. The final judgment of their cases had been delivered to me, and I will soon close the door on them and start anew. And as I turn the handle, this one closes. So then, and I am here as the general manager for the company to move forward in my next role. All in all, the cases have settled and done with. I won't be one looking back, but looking forward to the future to make changes. And to start anew.